I'm going to say something that might sound a little bit controversial to you, but I'm going to say it anyway. Nayef Aguerd is a very good central defender. Now, many say that he couldn't cope with the pace of the Premier League when he was playing for West Ham, but many others would argue that whilst under David Moyes, he found it difficult to be in a team that seemed to be under relentless attack for 80% of each game. Now, even I criticised Aguerd at the time about his ability or about his attitude. It looked like he was always available for Morocco, but whenever he was due to play for West Ham, there was a weird injury happening. Yet, we have always known that there's a very good central defender there when he applies himself. I remember when we chased Aguerd, for something like 2 years before he finally arrived at West Ham. He looked like, or he is, a modern day central defender with great technical ability. I remember watching him in the World Cup in 2022, just before he moved to West Ham United, and in that same year, and thinking what a decent defender he was, a player who played with his heart on his sleeve. He could play on the left or the right side of central defence, and he put every effort in, wherever he was asked to play in the back line. Not only a defender who could defend exceptionally well, he was also very comfortable on the ball as well. You could see that he had good technical ability, and he had a great passing range, those diagonal pinpoint passes to set up attacking play. So when we got him, I was pleased. I was pleased that we actually managed to get him at West Ham. But despite having won a European medal with the club, the player was unhappy and he wanted to move on. Now, he wasn't necessarily demanding a move to a big club necessarily. He just wanted to move away from West Ham. Was it David Moyes' coaching style? Or was it that he couldn't settle in England, as we kept hearing? But if it was the latter, the coaching style of Moyes, then I was actually surprised that when Julian Lopetegui took over at the beginning of last season, the player still didn't want to stay. And, he didn't want to see whether he could play under Lopetegui. And if you recall, he moved more or less at the last minute of the transfer window. But nonetheless, he moved to Real Sociedad and he spent a season reminding us all just how good a central defender he still is. Sure, many people are going to say that the pace in La Liga is very different. It's a lot slower to that of the Premier League, not as intense, hence why Aguerd did better. And there could be an element of truth there, yeah. But Aguerd was also involved in European football for Real Sociedad and did equally as well in that competition as well as in La Liga. Now, there are stories that Aguerd had asked not to return to preseason training with West Ham, but here he is, part of the squad that flew out to Germany and taking full part in all the training sessions. And it's reported that Graham Potter wants to keep Aguerd, and until an official offer is received to buy the player, Nayef Aguerd will continue to be available for Potter for selection in this upcoming season. Now, unless he goes on strike or puts in a transfer request, of course, at this moment in time, he's here to stay. Now, I can't see Aguerd doing either, to be quite honest with you, but never say never. Now, there are a number of reasons or a number of things we all need to be aware of here, which is why some fans are in favour of Aguerd staying at the club. Now, maybe you're already aware of some of these, but I'm going to remind you what they are anyway. Firstly, in order to accommodate Max Kilman in his most effective position, we need a central defender that can play on the left side of a three-man defence, which will allow Max Kilman to play in the middle of a three-man defence. And from what we understand, it looks as if that is exactly how Graham Potter is going to be setting the team up next season. Of course, we might revert to a back four, of course, and Kilman is comfortable in a back four, relatively so. But every time we've seen Kilman having to be put out on the left side of back three, he seems a little bit lost. So in order to accommodate Kilman, we need either a player that's left-footed that goes on in central defence on the left side, or a player, a right-footed central defender, who's comfortable playing on the left side. Aguerd offers just that. Secondly, there are very few left-footed central defenders around, and those who are available don't come cheap. Left-footed central defenders are very much in demand, but so far we've only been linked to almost exclusively right-footed central defenders such as Taylor Harwood-Bellis, Coney de Winter, Charlie Creswell, and so on. So even if we were to allow Aguerd to go, we're going to have a problem finding a replacement for him. Now, thirdly, Potter needs a left-sided central defender to provide essential support, an experienced one, to provide essential support for new boy El Hadji Malik Diouf and, of course, Ollie Scholes. If you remember, last season, Aaron Creswell did a great job in guiding Scholes through some of the games last season. And finally, from reports that we keep receiving, Potter wants Aguerd to stay next season, as he sees him as an integral part of the team and believes we will actually do better with him than without him. I'll leave you to decide if you think Potter's right or not. I think Aguerd is a good defender and maybe he will benefit us. Now, on this part, we continuously hear that Aguerd wants to leave, as I've already mentioned. But despite so much apparent interest in the player, we've yet to receive an offer that will make West Ham decide to part ways with the Moroccan international. And if we were to receive a suitable offer, it's suggested that we won't entertain anything less than £20 million. So far, if the stories are to be believed, the only offer on the table is a loan deal from Roma. West Ham are not entertaining loan offers unlike they did last season. And there are good reasons for that as well. The first is obvious. If Aguerd goes on loan, then we've still got to go out and find ourselves a replacement. And as I mentioned, finding left-footed central defenders is not easy. So we would have to go and get ourselves a right-footed central defender who's going to be comfortable playing on the left, or we're going to have to put Max Kilman out there knowing that he's not necessarily suited to that role. Isn't that weird? But it is what it is. The second reason relates to the first in a way. If we're going to go out and find ourselves a replacement, it's going to cost us money. So either way, whether we get a loan player or we have to go out and buy a player, it's going to cost us money. And sticking with the financial side for a moment, last season, West Ham are reported to have paid anything up to about 50, 60, some even say 70% of Nayef Aguerd's and Maxwell Cornet's wages so that they could go and play for Real Sociedad and Genoa, respectively. Now, both players are reported to be earning around 50 grand a week. So if that's true, if it's anything up to 70%, that means we paid about £3.6 million in wages for the whole of last season to have those two players playing for other teams. And herein lies the problem with loans. We're already aware that Genoa apparently wants Cornet back for another season, but again, they want us to pay the bulk of his wages. But where Cornet might be expendable, at this moment in time, Aguerd isn't. If Aguerd goes, then we've got to have a central replacement. We've got to have a replacement for him in the squad. So it kind of makes no sense at all that if we need players ourselves, why would we loan a player out to other clubs? Now, if Aguerd is to leave, West Ham is going to insist on a sale, and I'm comfortable with that. You know, in this particular case, we don't need to get rid of Aguerd. Yeah, okay. People say, well, you're going to have a disgruntled player on your hands, but I'm not so sure. You know, if we keep him, I wonder if Graham Potter can win him round. But if we do let him go, who are we going to replace him with? Now, as far as left-footed centre-backs are concerned, there is, it's only a suggestion. Don't get me wrong. I'm not proposing this, but only a suggestion. There is Bournemouth's Marcos Senesi. 28 years of age, is in the last year of his contract, and he could be available at a relatively decent price. But Senesi did struggle with hamstring injuries last season, which saw him miss 21 games. So perhaps yet another injury gamble. And then, of course, we saw the photo of Calvin Bassey recently, who was spotted wearing a West Ham shirt, which set tongues wagging. Now, Bassey explained that he was only wearing the shirt of a club from his friends who were, well, he was playing at the time, Kudus and Alvarez playing at West Ham, and that they're mates of his because they played together at Ajax. True? Look, players don't do something for nothing. There may be something in it, there may not be. Nonetheless, finding a central defender at the right age and at the right price who is either left-footed or comfortable playing on the left side of central defence is going to be hard to find. So let's see. If Potter can persuade Aguerd to stay, maybe that's not a bad thing at all. I think he could be a huge asset. But if he wants to leave, clubs are going to have to find around £20 million to prize him away. And at this moment in time, we really don't need to sell a central defender, a left-sided one at that, in order to go and find ourselves a central defender on the left side. Thank you for watching and listening. A short one. If you're new to the channel or if you've watched me before and you've yet to subscribe. Costs nothing to subscribe. All the content is free. But if you've enjoyed the show, please hit the like button. I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.